Today we're going to set up Newton Toolkit, or NTK for short. Newton Toolkit allows you to write and compile applications written in Newton script. Before we can start playing with NTK, we need to be able to run Mac Classic apps. We'll be using a 68K Macintosh emulator known as Basilisk II. There are a few prerequisites you'll need to track down. First, you'll need a copy of a ROM file from a 68K Macintosh. Just like the ROM file you need to emulate the Newton OS in Einstein, this file is under copyright. For the purposes of this tutorial, we'll assume you have a Quadra 650 ROM. There may be other ROMs that will work with Basilisk II. Consult the Basilisk website to find out more. Second, you'll need a few disk images. The United Network of Newton Archives has both a macOS 755 boot disk image as well as a disk image containing all of the developer tools. Download both of these. Create a folder in the location you wish to keep Basilisk. Place Basilisk, the disk images, and the ROM file in this folder. Basilisk comes with two applications. The first, basilisk2.app, is the actual emulator. Basilisk 2 GUI is the configurator. Start by launching this one. First, we'll create a disk image to hold everything. The macOS 755 boot disk is about 150 megabytes in size with about 100 megabytes free. The Newton Disk developer image is about 200 megabytes in size, also with about 100 megabytes free. While you can use these images directly, I like to create a bigger disk image so that I have some room to work. Click the Create button and choose Disk Image Size. I use about 500 megabytes for my disk image. The new disk image will appear in the list. Next, add your boot and Newton Dev disk images to the list as well. For Unix root, select your home folder. This will allow you to access files on your host machine from within the emulator. On the Graphics and Sound tab, select Dynamic for the refresh rate and 1024 by 768 for the resolution. On the Memory MISC tab, select your ROM file. Since I'm using a Quadra ROM, I've selected Quadra 800 as my Mac model. Click Save, then Quit. Now launch Basilisk II. Upon first boot, macOS will see your new disk image is unreadable. Give this disk a new name and format the disk. Now copy everything from your boot disk to your new disk image. Create a folder named Newton Dev on your new disk and copy the contents of the Newton Dev disk image to this folder. Now your virtual Mac has a 500 megabyte hard drive with everything you need to start developing for the Newton. Shut down Basilisk and launch the configurator one more time. Remove the boot and Newton Dev disk images. You can also delete the files from your host Mac. Save and quit and relaunch your virtual Mac. The Newton Dev folder contains everything you'll need to start developing in Newton script. It also contains various tools for packaging fonts, making books, and some tools you'll need to build C++ code for the Newton. For completeness, you can place the extensions in the Drop on the System folder and Preferences in the Put in Your Preferences folders in their proper locations. You can then delete the empty folders. There are some additional steps to setting up MPW and the Newton C++ tools. We'll explore those in a later video. For now, let's test that you can build a Newton package. In the Newton Dev folder, navigate to NTK 1.6.4 and launch the Newton Toolkit. Navigate up one level and select the Sample Code folder. Select Views and finally Clock-2 to open the clock sample project. Select Project, Build Project, or press Command 1. The application will compile quickly, so you should only see a progress window briefly. In the Finder, navigate to the folder containing the clock sample code, and you should see clock.pkg in this folder. Copy this file to your host Mac by dragging it to the Unix drive on your desktop. Launch Einstein, which we set up in a previous video. Once booted, click Install Package and then select the clock package from your home folder. You'll find the app in your Extras drawer after it is installed. You can tell the difference between the built-in clock app and the sample code clock by the TARDIS icon. Click to launch. Congratulations, you've compiled and ran your first Newton application. We'll explore the Newton Toolkit more in future episodes. For now, copy over the Docs folder to your host machine by dragging it to the Unix folder. This folder contains a treasure trove of well-written documentation. I would start with the Newton Toolkit User's Guide, which explains the Newton Toolkit. Your homework is to follow the step-by-step guide for building a simple application in Chapter 3. Then copy this package to your host machine and run it in Einstein. Thanks, and see you next time.